Okay, this is part 4 of Federalist number 12. In front of you, I have a list of authors' names. It's Gordon Wood, Joseph Ellis, Peter Onuf, Jack Rakoff, Akila Marr, Pauline Mayer, Gordon Lloyd, Woody Holton, Carol Birkin, Rosemary Zagari. I might have misspelled this one. But try to watch as many of their talks as you can on C-SPAN, YouTube, or elsewhere. On C-SPAN, you'll find certain things that will not be on YouTube. So definitely look for their talks, definitely their books when you have time. But if you can't make time for the books, watch all the talks, as much of it as you can. They're mostly historians of American founding era, and you can learn a lot. Akila Marr mostly writes on the Constitution. For example, Carol Birkin, her book, A Brilliant Solution, the short book on the Constitutional Convention, one of the many good ones. I showed it to you. But she has a talk about that book, which is on C-SPAN. It's not on YouTube. So just kind of look for these, but these are some of the names that you want to be familiar with. Read their books, read their articles if you can, but definitely watch their videos. And it will be really, really helpful. There was another book that I read last year, Michael Claremont, Framers' Coup. I forgot to write it down here, but I'll write it down elsewhere. I've already shown you the book. So I'm going to read paragraph 4 of Federalist number 12. But it is not in this aspect of the subject alone that union will be seen to conduce to the purposes of revenue. Remember, he's talking about commerce in this paper, and he's talking about revenue. It's the money that will go to the government so that the government can take care of what it needs to, so that people can go about their lives and not waste their times on stuff that has to do with security and safety. And people can go ahead and put their talents to use. And this way everybody will benefit. Every person, every category of person. Earlier he said husbandman, which is the farmer, manufacturer. It's a little different from the sense we use it now, but it's usually craftsmen, people who work, manufacture things, not necessarily a assembly line, but people who work with their hands. They were craftsmen. He talked about merchants. All these people, every category will benefit from it. And there's free commerce. And then as a result of it, whether it's the taxes that bring the money or whatever other way, the government will have enough money in its coffers, or what they call treasury, to take care of what it needs to. So I'll continue. There are other points of view in which its influence will appear more immediate and decisive. It is evident from the state of the country, from the habits of the people, from the experience we've had on the point itself, that it is impracticable to raise any very considerable sums by direct taxation. Since we've had experience in the past 11 years, what has happened in the States, what we have seen ourselves, even during the Revolutionary War, that sometimes it's hard to get money from people by direct taxes. In other words, telling them they owe tax for their property, for their house, for their cabin, stuff like that. Okay? Tax laws have in vain been multiplied. We have a lot of tax laws that are just not useful, that have not done what they're supposed to. New methods to enforce the collection have in vain been tried. And we've used some methods to get these taxes from people that have just not been used, that's just been waste of time. New methods to enforce the collection have in vain been tried. The public expectation has been uniformly disappointed, and the treasuries of the states have remained empty. Both the public have been disappointed with what we've done and what they have got in return. Plus, we'll see that states' treasuries have always remained empty. They have no money. They're always in need of money. The popular system of administration, inherent in the nature of popular government, coinciding with the real scarcity of money incident to a languid and mutilated state of trade. Languid and mutilated state of trade means a situation where trade is not happening. It's dead. Okay? It's like a body that's been injured, that's been shot. So because of the situation we had during the Revolutionary War and afterwards, people have had to go serve in the army. They've not made money. What little money they had in real money, in coin and silver, in silver and gold, they've maybe used it to buy stuff they need, to buy sometimes stuff they don't need, but luxuries. So all that money is gone, and you'll have paper money that's not worth anything. So he says, in this kind of government that we've had, this popular government in the last 11 years or so, it's just trade has been damaged badly, has hitherto defeated every experiment for extensive collections, and has at length taught the different legislatures the folly of attempting them. So trade is down, almost dead. States don't have any treasury money in their treasuries, and they don't know whatever way they've tried to do direct taxes. It has just not worked. They don't know the amount to ask for because people don't have too much. The methods of collections have not worked. And everything they've tried has been defeated. It's just not worked. And it's teaching them different legislatures. It's talking about different state legislatures, the 13 states. It says it's taught them the foolishness of some of these things they've done, the folly, the mistaken belief, sometimes to the point of fooling themselves. Okay, the next short paragraph. No person acquainted with what happens in other countries will be surprised at this circumstance. In so opulent a nation as that of Britain, where direct taxes from superior wealth must be much more tolerable, and from the vigor of the government much more practicable than in America, for the greatest part of the national revenue is derived from taxes of the indirect kind, from imposts and from excises, duties on imported articles form a large branch of this latter description. So it says anybody who knows a little bit about the subject of taxation will not be surprised and how badly we are doing, what a bad state our government is in, the treasury is in. And then he says, in so opulent a nation as that of Britain, where direct taxes from superior wealth must be much more tolerable. So he says, look, even Britain, that's the best example that's out there, an energetic government, a powerful government, a government that has, since the 12th century, knows exactly who has what, how much, because it doesn't mention it here, but one of the things that happened in 12th, 13th century England and then Britain is that the palace pretty much knew who had what in part of the country, how much wealth they had, how many animals they had, what the households were almost like. So he said, even in a place like England, where you know who the rich people are, the lords and everybody else related to them, you know the nation is relatively wealthy, you know the government actually can tax people and get the money. It's not like our country that we can't. He says what good luck they've had with, something that they've been really successful, is indirect taxes, excises, imposts, tariffs. See, he says, when it says duties on imported articles, those are tariffs. Like if people bring things from outside the country, buy things from outside the country, sometimes even luxuries, you assign a tax to it and it becomes tariff. Excise is for taxes on commodities, on things that are sold, bought, traded inside the country. Like you will see, he's going to talk about liquor, alcohol. You put an excise tax on it. So he says different kinds of tax. You could use indirect taxes and make enough money to take care of the government's needs. So we'll continue in the next video.